SMS me, I will be happy to address that. My number is 917, oops, sorry, no, I have now 917-646-275-0210. 646-275-0210. At that number, if you can SMS me, I will address, inshallah, your question. And based on 275-0210. So you can SMS that number, and then I will take your questions, inshallah. And we have already some questions. We'll start with that, inshallah.
Do you ever pick up the phone? Do you ever pick up the phone?
I think your voice is loud enough. So it depends your voice. But anyway, Imam Shibli is here. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I am Moshi Buyan. Someone asked me before, is this your real name? It is my real name. My official name, Moshi Muhammad Morshed Buyan. I want to just make sure it is. I am Moshi Buyan. So anyway, I am grateful that I am being a part of endowment committee. And I wanted to thank Babar and the whole team with his leadership, and Brother Basi was before here. Brother Topal is here. Oh, there he is. That under their leadership, that this organization grew so much, and I'm very impressed. I'm proud to be part of it. So now, I know last 3 days, 4 days, or weeks, you guys have been seeing that email coming out from ISCJ, what's happening, and you get a lot of updates. But I wanted to have Babar come here for a few minutes, just share with us a few updates. But I guess now that Imam Shibli is here, let's have Imam Shibli give us some blessing and a few words from him. Imam Shibli, Assalamu alaikum.
Do you know the last word came from the mouth of Brother Musha, what he said? Do you remember the last word? The last word? No, one word before that. He used the word of blessing.
Blessings.
Oh, Imam Shibli would come blessing. Why you say that? Say make a dua, read Surah Al-Fatiha.
Sir, see, now it's all about, we are getting now more grammatical. I should have my wife being here.
West Windsor Township, about 10-15 years ago, they invite a rabbi, an imam, and Catholic priest to attend a meeting for Boy Scout. Age 15 to 20, eagle under the eagle. And the moderator is exactly as the Brother Moshe. He said, those 3 religious people are coming here to bless the kids, to bless us, giving us blessing. The rabbi did a very blessing. He let everybody go to Jannah right away, because they don't believe in the hereafter. Then the Catholic, he said maybe more than what the rabbi said. And when Imam Shibli came to the microphone, exactly I reported to you in the early morning. I said to the kids, believe me, I cannot bless myself. And how I'm going to bless you? You are a sinner and I am a sinner. But what I'm able to do for you, I will make a prayer. I pray for you. I make a dua in Arabic. And I greet you with Islam and Assalamu alaikum and Shalom and good morning. But to believe a human being, blessing a human being, forget it. Let me say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitan rajim, bismillahir rahmanir rahim, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. الصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن سار على هديه إلى يوم الدين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. My dear respected brothers and sisters in Islam, after we finish the meeting today with all our guests, may Allah reward them, I want you to open the Quran Kareem. We don't have any other book more authentic than the Quran Kareem, yes?
Yes.
And I want you to open the Quran Kareem and, or maybe in your cell phone, and see how many times Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the word money in the Quran. How do you spell money? How you spell the word money?
M-O-N-E-Y.
Is the only spelling? You cannot use it.
Yeah.
Which means the same thing. The same thing for ISCJ. I said yesterday in my khutbah, walhamdulillah, the first day, Brother Muhammad Siddiqui, Brother Wasi, and Brother Tufail, I remember some name, started the endowment, walhamdulillah, with couple $1,000. Yesterday and the day before yesterday, they told me, alhamdulillah, we have $1 million. Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
And from Friday yesterday, we put the seed, alhamdulillah, to collect the second million. Say inshallah.
Inshallah.
And I believe on the first Friday, we have 15 brothers and sisters. Each one of them donate $500, almost maybe a couple thousand to be the seed. From this meeting, inshallah ta'ala, I don't want anybody as a Muslim say, I am belong to ISCJ. Maybe shaitan will come to our mind and say, ISCJ investing their $1 million in a haram way. Please don't spread this kind of news. We are sure, alhamdulillah, from the first meeting, second meeting, this company come to us, you know, I don't mention name, inshallah, they're doing their best to increase the $1 million, to make it another $1 million, $2 million in coming inshallah or more, but I'm concerned about, is it halal 100%? Are they reading the Quran and the Sunnah say the investment to do it, it's halal? As long as it's halal, everybody inshallah will support it and will support it. Personally I support it, and I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless this meeting.
Amen.
And in the end of the meeting will come something to benefit the Islam and the Muslim inshallah ta'ala. Jazakumullah khair. Thank you, Brother Musha. Next time, no blessing from anybody, just pray for everybody. Give salam to your wife. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I am blessed, meaning I'm very happy to be here. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. May Allah forgive us. Sometimes we say things unintentionally, but some of us will know that we didn't mean it, but I did not mean it the other way. May Allah forgive us. So let's get started. Have Brother Babar come here a few minutes to share with you, the status of endowment, what's happening, and hopefully, you will get some update. I know some of the faces I see here is new, so hopefully you get some ideas what's happening.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Wa alaikum assalam.
I'm going to keep it very brief. So every year we have this event called Endowment Awareness Week, and the idea is to raise awareness. As part of this week, we've had everyday question and answer sent out to the community. We've also yesterday had a wills and estate planning seminar. We had a one-on-one wills clinic with 2 attorneys from morning till afternoon. The idea is to raise awareness. So it's appropriate that before we actually start, that I share a very few brief points about the endowment. So one of the things that Imam mentioned, and I don't know how many of you actually knew that endowment, ISCJ has an endowment that has reached $1 million. Show of hands. So there are a few people who didn't know that, right? Another question, talking to a few people, right? How many of you think that the masjid expansion that happened, the money from ISCJ endowment fund was used to expand that masjid? How many people think that?
Neither the Imam does not.
No.
Right? But there, I see few reluctant hands, but that's one of the misconception about endowment, right? The idea of endowment is that when we put money in the endowment, it is not spent. It is retained, it is reinvested till it gets to a certain point where you can use the funds which are getting the revenues from those investments for different projects. So essentially, if you donate to endowment, your funds stay there forever. Only the profits from those funds are used. And that too, so this is a general concept of waqf or endowment that still is not very clear to a lot of people, right? So just to be very clear, anything that goes into endowment will stay there forever. So it's like a perpetual sadaqah jariyah. Specifically for ISCJ, as Imam mentioned, in 2008, the fund started with $10,000. Alhamdulillah, we reached $1 million last year. Now, the next step is $2 million. And the plan is that, inshallah, once we get to $10 million, before that, we will not use the money from those funds. We'll continue to reinvest, continue to grow the funds, and once the endowment fund reaches around $10 million, that's where we can use the revenues and the profits from that investment to basically cover some of the operating expenses of the ISCJ. So we are less dependent on fundraising. So that's the general concept that I just wanted to re-emphasize, and how you can participate. You can give money online. We have a campaign running last entire week about pledge $1 a day. We spend more on coffee. So if we just, $30 a day, if even 20, 50 people start doing that, the amount adds up. You can donate stocks. We yesterday talked about charitable lead trust, charitable remainder trust. So there are multiple ways. So the idea is just, there are multiple ways to participate. Please try to educate yourself. If you have questions, send it to endowment@iscj.org, and we'll be happy to answer those questions. That being said, I'll give it back to the panel to start the discussion around halal investment, but later on, if there are any questions around endowment, we'll be more than happy to answer this. And thank you again, welcome all of you for this. Sorry, one thing I just wanted to mention, that the Endowment Awareness Week is sponsored by two of our partners, Hoopoe Advisors and Amana Funds. They're gracious enough to support and sponsor the Endowment Awareness Week. They have some materials out there, so please do look at those and take those out for educational purposes. Thank you.
Thank you, Baba. So let's go ahead and get started. So one way is going to, the format I'm sharing again, that those who came in late, if you have any questions, please text me at 646-275-0210. We will take your questions, and based on some of the questions so far what I'm saying, I want to let you know, please know that we have enough already on our stock, and some of the questions are debatable, and this is not the right panel for that. So that means it's not like we ignore your questions. Not everything will be addressed in this panel. We have a topic, endowment fund, and investing in halal investment. So what we're going to do, we're going to start from my left. Maybe start with Saad. So have a quick introduction about him, and if you want to share a little bit about your organization, what it does, and when it comes to halal investment, how do you decide on halal investment part? It's going to be start with Saad, then it's going to be from his left to this side. It's going to come in. All right.
Sure. So, can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. So thank you to the Endowment Committee for hosting me today, and the panel, of course. It's great to see how much the community has developed over the years. I'm not a direct product of this community, but I certainly benefited quite a bit as I grew up in Central Jersey. I used to come here quite often. So Imam Shibli, and I've been watching him since I was probably 12, 13 years old. Also, I think during the expansion project, I used to be the guy making the videos. So it's been quite a long time coming. But happy to be here to talk about kind of what I'm up to now. A few years ago, I co-founded a company called Zoya Finance. That's ZOYA.finance. That's our website. Really, it was to solve one problem, and the one problem I had at the time. I was freshly married in my early 20s, and I wanted to be able to manage my own investments. Of course, when you get married, you start thinking about your finances a lot more seriously. And at the time, my options were very limited to essentially mutual funds, and that's about it, right? And so around this time, there were some exciting companies popping up like Robinhood and Wealthfront and all these other investment options that were available for non-Muslims, but nothing that was offering something comparable that was Islamically compliant. And so I started kind of learning more and investigating, and essentially I built a small tool that allowed me to screen individual companies for Sharia compliance. And Sharia compliance is the term, we'll, I guess, get more into detail on what that is. But essentially, it means that it's Islamically permissible for you to invest in that company. And along the way, I realized there were several other people who had the same problem. And so what went from like a personal tool, it eventually turned into a much bigger thing. We had thousands of users. And today, alhamdulillah, we have over 150,000 people who use our platform around the world to basically manage their own investments. Since then, we've also started catering to businesses as well. So recently, we started working with companies that want to license our Sharia compliance data for their own products and services. And so we're working with several different Islamic banks and platforms and so on and so forth. But essentially, what it comes down to is we're building financial tools for Muslims to be able to manage their own investments. And that's something that hasn't been available previously. It's always been limited to managed investing services. So basically, give us your money, we'll manage it for you. And there's nothing wrong with that. But in terms of keeping up with what else is available in the market today, when it comes to Muslims, they're still lacking behind in terms of having those options to be able to say, look, sure, 80% of my portfolio is in a managed account, but this 20% I want to manage it on my own, invest in companies that I care about myself. But it spans beyond that, things like zakat and purification and so on and so forth. Other aspects of your personal finance journey are also very important, and we want to help build tools to cater to that as well. So that's just a quick background on me.
Thank you. Just go, Samir.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. My name is Samir Sarmast. I represent Saturna Capital, which is the manager of the Amana mutual funds. We're the oldest and largest Sharia-compliant mutual fund family in the U.S. As Saad mentioned, we were the ones that you were limited to, so he's solving the other side. So, and also Saad and I go way back. We started my show, Samir's Eats, back then, so we're brothers, But yeah, anyway, going back to Islamic investing, I worked for JP Morgan for 11 years. I was a VP over there. Like Saad was too. So I wanted to switch over to the halal side, and that's I joined Saturna back in 2018. So I've been there over 4 years now. And so what we do is we have 4 mutual fund families. 4 mutual funds in our fund family. We have the Amana Growth Fund. I know one of the brothers here came up and was raving about it. He wasn't paid for that, so. We have the Amana Income Fund, the Developing World Fund, and the Participation Fund. So all of these funds have a different purpose, different objective. And yeah, so that's kind of what we're doing. We do also manage solutions where we have a minimum of $1 million, and we actively manage your account in a Sharia-compliant manner. And the way, there's different screening processes out there, but generally speaking, I feel that all of us, we follow, or our companies follow, a very similar Sharia compliance screen. So with that, if you have any questions, we'll talk about it later.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Adam Sayed. I'm an investment advisor at Hoopoe Advisors. We're based out of Boston, so made the trek here. I obviously not from New Jersey, but I have a lot of connections to the Central Jersey community. My uncles, Amr and Abdul, I don't know if they're here, but they're from around here. My parents actually got married with Imam Shibli back in the day, so I'm grateful for him. And my cousins went to NUX, so there's a lot of memories that I have from Central Jersey back in the day too. I started at Hoopoe Advisors about 2 years ago. Previous to that, I was working at Bank of America, Merrill Lynch. And like my panelists here, I wanted to find a way in finance where I could make an impact in the community that I care about. So to give some background, Hoopoe Advisors is an ethical, values-based investment company or wealth management company that serves high net worth families. Meaning, like if you're a professional and you need guidance on how to invest your money or prepare for tax planning or estate planning or business planning, we provide an array of services. It's a full service platform where you can go out and we'll manage your portfolio for you in a way that's ethical. This stemmed from the partners at the firm, having worked in JP Morgan and international companies themselves, not feeling like they can make an impact in the communities they care about. So they set up this with the idea of really enhancing their community. This started from, I don't know if any of you are familiar with the ISCJ-TV in Boston, but a lot of the earlier investors wanted to set up philanthropic vehicles that would invest their money, but also donate to the communities in which they cared about. So a lot of people set up charitable trusts, which are one of our areas of expertise, where you put in money and it allows you to have a tax deduction in the first year, but it also allows you to donate in a way that's zakat eligible, and it is your money after a period of 10 years. So we can get more into that, but that's one of our main vehicles that we use. From a stock and Sharia compliance point of view, we avoid any types of haram industries. So from the get-go, we're avoiding things that have to do with adult film, pornography, war making, defense, finance, insurance, things that have high debt instruments. We manage the portfolios ourselves, meaning we can go out in the market and pick any stock or equity or real estate investment that we like, and from that we'll evaluate it and see if it fits it within the portfolio, see if there's any ethical concerns with it, and if there are, we'll refer that to the Islamic opinions of several different scholars that we keep in touch with. But that's kind of our process from the get-go. We're all passionate about the same thing.
Thank you. Hold on to that, Aaron. I'm going to, I know that it's a follow-up question. You mentioned about, Samir mentioned about your company, when you manage one, you want to manage individual money, minimum fund is $1 million, right? That's you guys manage?
Yeah, that's if you want a actively managed portfolio. So we have 3 portfolio managers. One of them is Munib Salam. Some of you may know him. He's one of the pioneers of, I would say, the Islamic finance and the Amana mutual fund. So that type of account, yeah, that's what it is. But anybody below, then we would help them with the funds, the different funds that we have. Yeah. So our minimum actually for the funds is $250. So yeah, so anyone could start. I know Hoopoe also uses our funds too. So.
So, Hoopoe, do you guys have similar restriction, $250K to $1 million range, if you manage somebody's portfolio?
There's no minimum value. So anyone, that's kind of the purpose of Hoopoe, is that we're trying to make finance more democratize finance in a way that's accessible to anyone. So there's no minimum value, but there are certain portfolios where you have to have a certain amount of liquidity to invest in, but we're open to any investor.
Okay, yeah, so you can keep it in with you, and then you have, among you guys can share. You can hear my voice, right? I'm loud enough. I don't need that. Let's start it. Is investing halal or haram in Islam? Investing, whenever investing comes. So we'll start with that and just, what's your opinion? I know that.
I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope so. That's why we're inviting you.
I think from the perspective of, whether it's gambling or not, I think we take the long-term view on investing. We're participating in the markets in order to make a profit in companies that we believe are doing good. If you're kind of thinking of it on a short-term level and, engaging in very, risky investments such as shorts and puts and those types of things, I think that's when it gets a little risky, and that's, a little questionable rather. And that's something that we avoid doing. We're mainly going long only, meaning like we just buy the stocks and hope for gains. And we hold for the long term, and we believe that's, a way that's consistent with Sharia law.
Anyone wants to do the same? So one thing what I heard from Adam, that is it's a time. Time is the long term, short term, right? So if you do it, gamble, it becomes a gambling. Else you look at long term horizon, so hopefully that's going to give return based on moral ethics. So,
yeah, so I mean, none of us are scholars here, so the Imam Shibli and someone more qualified could answer that question, but investing is like this cup, right? I can put coffee in it or I can put wine in it, right? So what I put in is what makes it halal or haram, right? And so with investing, same thing. I mean, just investing based off of Islamic principles means that you're investing in assets that are permissible in our religion. And I would say from the Islamic standpoint, investing is necessary because there's really two things that are relevant to us as Muslims. One is that hoarding is not considered a good thing in Islam, right? We should not hoard. And so, hoarding cash, hoarding things in general is not a good thing. And so, so Islam encourages us to spend our money, but towards good. And secondly, zakat, right? So if we, hypothetically speaking, if all we did was just save our money and kept it in the bank, we lose it every year to zakat, and then obviously inflation as well, right? I mean, that's another concept, but Islamically speaking, zakat, we're paying 2.5% on that every year. So from an Islamic standpoint, it's encouraged to invest so you can grow that money, and then you have more money to give towards zakat, but then you're also then benefiting yourself and your family and your community with that money. So I would say absolutely that it's encouraged in Islam.
Hold on to it now. What is halal investing now? If somebody says, okay, halal investing, now that we are clear that investing is good, it's a tool, you use it, it's all, I love your analogy about the cup. You can put water, Imam Shibli says money is water. But here, so now you can put something else to make it haram. Now what is halal investing means?
Yeah, so I mean, it's just echoing what I just said earlier, which is that you're investing with the principles of Islam, right? So you're making sure that you're not engaging in a way that your money is going towards something that's destructive, towards yourself or towards the community, right? I mean, if you just focus on the idea of riba for a second, right, interest or usury, it's the one thing that's mentioned in the Quran that, it says that Allah wages war on you if you engage in riba, right? It's like you're waging war on Allah and the Prophet ﷺ if you're engaging in riba. It's in Surah Baqarah, I believe, right? And there's no other sin that is described in that nature. So just think about that.
Anyone wants to chime in? Anything else? I think it's a long question. Okay. Best halal, now people ask me, just can you share one or two best halal investment options? Best halal investment options. Not somebody who has $1 million in the fund. Let's think of somebody who is just like average. What option do you think that, as a financial advisor or sorry, this is like, we want to make sure that this is not financial advice. Please, by all means, it's just sharing their opinion. Take it as education. What option people can think about?
I mean, the option is relevant more towards your goals, your time frame, your risk tolerance. So these are all things we need to consider. We can't really sit here and give you, hey, the top hot stock of the week today, But yeah, I mean, I would encourage if anyone's really interested to talk to one of us, either at the end or reach out to us at a later time where we could discuss properly your goals, your risk, and your objectives, and then make a sound decision. Because we get questions, I'm sure, on crypto all the time and this and that, and we'll see how that's done.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. I think another thing to consider is the idea of fixed income. So obviously, like we're trying to avoid debt-bearing instruments as much as we can. So that's something that we take a philosophy on at Hoopoe. We try to find an alternative to fixed assets by investing in real estate directly or investing in REITs, which are real estate investment trusts, or income trusts rather. So our options, as we see it at Hoopoe, are mainly limited to stocks, real estate, private equity / growth ventures, and then real estate too.
All right, thank you. Now we're going to take some questions. If you have anybody, go ahead.
It's not a question. I'm with Amana. We love it. Halal investment has blessings. I'll just simply share one example. I learned a lot from my son, Zoya. He was born in this country. My daughter was born in this country. When he was admitted in Hopkins, everybody was happy. School was happy. The first year went to Johns Hopkins. He comes back, he said, Baba, Ma, I cannot study on riba money. I was called rock in a hard place. was a commission salesperson. I don't have that kind of money. So he went back to the college and he said, the dean, I want to have a meeting with you. I'm not looking for handout, I'm not looking for charity. I'm a Muslim, I cannot study on interest-bearing loan. The dean said, give me 1 day. Next day he goes, he said, we have decided to give you interest-free, half of the amount of the money you need. So, he comes back, he said, Ma, if your niya is correct, God sees it. So we chipped in half and half to get the halal. So it's all your niya. It's don't blame others for your failure. That's all I want to share with you. And these are tears of joy. Imam Shibli, we learned a lot. The kids are very Muslim. My 2.5-year-old grandson is my buddy. He knows 5 surahs. They're born in this country. Alhamdulillah.
Thank you. And yeah, go ahead, brother.
Assalamu alaikum. So I have a few questions, but I guess one of the most pressing questions for me is when we actually get dividends from our stocks, even if it's a halal stock, for example, like Apple or Microsoft, some people pose the question to me, well, isn't that dividend considered riba? Especially when you go to do your taxes, it's considered like dividend slash, like it's considered interest gains. Even when you look at it on, like when I look at it on Merrill, it tells me interest gains. So how, as a Muslim, like how do we view those gains from dividends?
Yeah, I mean, there's different schools of thought. We invest in a lot of high dividend portfolios. I don't think there's one mainstream view that we have in terms of distributing zakat. Like we kind of felt like if someone wants to give zakat, they have different schools of thought and we can calculate for them. So there's, for example, like there's I think any interest income we automatically distribute as zakat, but there's also like the long-term gains versus how many assets you have under management as a way of distributing zakat. So in terms of dividends specifically, I mean, we don't have a specific view on that.
So we get this question a lot, and so I guess the first part of your question is dividend income interest income the same thing? The answer is no, it's not. And when it comes to like financial statements, accounting standards, the word interest does not always mean riba. Okay, so that's number one. And so yes, it does sometimes get classified as, it's usually like it'll say interest / investment income. That's what it says. And that / investment income is typically referring to things like dividends. So no, those two things are different. It's not interest. However, one thing I mentioned earlier is this idea of purification. So when it comes to halal investing, there's 3 things you have to remember. Okay, at least for me, it simplifies down to 3 things. One is Sharia compliance, so ensuring that the investment is Sharia compliant from an Islamic standpoint. 2 is purification, or in Arabic you say tathhir, right? And 3 is zakat, okay? And so the purification part, what it means is, okay, so you take a company like Apple, let's say that they're Sharia compliant. I think everyone can agree, for the most part, there's nothing wrong with the business. However, most companies have exposure to interest in some capacity. For example, Apple has billions in cash, it sits in the bank, it sits in different investments, and it earns interest. And so I think they earn a few billion just in interest income alone, right? This is non-operating interest income, meaning this is not part of their core business, not a bank, right? But it's just cash that's sitting there earning interest. Now, even though Apple is a company Sharia compliant, you holding their stock and receiving dividends, you still have to purify those dividends. So that's what most of the scholars say, is you still have to purify it. And so there's basically a small calculation that you can do, which says that, okay, well, let's say that roughly 2% of Apple's revenue comes from interest. So essentially you need to give away 2% of your dividend income. That's like the simplest calculation. There's a few different calculations involved, but the simplest one is basically, hey, if Apple is earning 2% of their revenue from interest income, and you earned, $100 in dividends for, this year, you're going to give 2% of that away. And
on top of your zakat, on top of zakat, you actually
that is not zakat.
Yeah.
That is not zakat, right? Because that is income that doesn't belong to you. It's coming from an impermissible source. So before you pay zakat, you have to first purify your assets. Any kind of impermissible income, you have to first get rid of that. That does not count towards zakat. And then once remaining, then you do zakat on that.
Okay.
So we're building, as I mentioned, we're building tools to help you do all of this. So today, if you use our app, you can get access to all those underlying numbers. If you need to know, how much Apple has.
What are those guidelines? I mean, from just the basic kind of top overview is, industries, like the brother mentioned earlier, you avoid the haram industries. That's the most obvious, right? We're not investing in Budweiser or anything like that. Casinos, right? Banks, any financial companies. So we avoid all of that. So primarily, I know for Amana, we're in tech and healthcare. Primarily, that's where most of our equities come from. So, of course, that didn't do so well this year. But yeah, and then the second screen is your debt to your debt, to the last trailing 12, basically 33%, right? So you can't be in debt. The company can't be in debt over 33%. The other screen that we look at is the accounts receivable, right? If it's over 45%, meaning you're owed over 45%, then it would be unacceptable. That means that you're in pretty bad shape, and a lot of people owe you stuff. So, and then the last one, and I know Imam Shibli was here last time we did this panel, and the 5% haram revenues, right? This is the one we got kind of jumped on about. Brother, why can't it be only 0 haram revenues? Well, so what is haram revenue? What do I mean by that? So airline, is that a halal industry? What is it doing? They're flying, right? What else do they do? Once you get on the airplane, what are they doing? Selling alcohol. So not that we have any airlines in our portfolios, but just to give you an example, what we would do is our analysts would call the corporate investor relations and get the revenue breakdown of the airline, right? So let's say it's United, whatever. Generally, what we've heard is it's under 5%. It's usually around 1% is the revenues from alcohol. So in that case, if we were looking at an airline, let's say United, it would be a permissible company to invest into. Okay, and that's just an example. We don't actually invest into United, but that's just, so that's what it is. The other example I'll give is Bed Bath & Beyond, right? What's wrong with that? The bed is halal, the bath is halal, the Beyond isn't, right? What happened with the Beyond? They acquired a wine library, and that was over 5% of their revenue, so that wouldn't be acceptable. So.
How about Qatar Airlines?
I think we generally follow the same principles, me and Samir and Saad. So I think generally AOP is the gold standard. Obviously, we do our own stock screening in-house. We have an investment community that kind of looks at the stocks and analyzes them themselves. So to give an example, like there's about 4 or 5 core portfolios that we have in our products, and all of them, like, we minimize the financial exposure to, obviously, the haram industries, like was mentioned before. But we kind of look at these companies ourselves and decide and do the analysis and use a variety of tools that we have, such as Morningstar, Bloomberg, financial tools that are available to us, and analyze the numbers ourselves. And should we need the opinions of other scholars, we would defer to them, but for the most part, these decisions are being made by an investment committee internally.
Yeah, and as far as our Sharia compliance, we have a third-party oversight company that looks in, they're based out of Malaysia, called Amani Advisors. So they review our holdings on a quarterly basis, because anything could change, right? Anything can change from today to next week in a company. They might acquire another company that's involved in the haram industry. So how do we do that? You need to have ongoing monitoring of that. So ours is on a quarterly basis, and we issue a certificate under our funds, so you could access those certificates of holding.
Or you can use Zoya. We do all that for you, and we empower you to do all that yourself. We've simplified the process.
I have used Zoya, and it's very good.
Awesome, thank you so much, appreciate that.
Zoya, and there is another one, Islamically.
Yes.
Yes. Very good.
So exactly all the processes that they've described, we simplify that, we automate it, and we bring that knowledge and information to you the retail investor, to empower you to make your own investment decisions. Yes?
I just wanted to make another comment about Zoya. They also have a pretty robust blog where they'll tell you a lot about purifying your 401k and other things as well. And I think this blog is free, right? You can find it online.
Yeah.
They've partnered with other like influencers who care about like Islamic-related finance. So, and what's great about it is, you know, with Zoya, you don't have to really talk to anyone. It's just through the app. You don't need to call somebody up. It's very easy to access. It's so I highly recommend it. So spread the word, and inshallah, you'll get Hasanat too.
Thank you so much. She does not work for us. She was not paid. But just going back to the Sharia standards question, yes, I think everyone is more or less based off of the AOFI standards. AAOIFI stands for the Accounting and Auditing Organization for Islamic Financial Institutions. They're a nonprofit based out of Bahrain. They work with several different scholars, very well-known scholars, Mufti Taqi Usmani, and so on and so forth. And they come together and they develop financial standards for Islamic institutions, right? That's right in the name. And so one aspect of that is investing. They have banking-related standards and lending and so on and so forth. But the investing side of it, they've essentially issued broad guidelines. And it's up to the institutions to essentially adopt those guidelines to the best of their ability. And so there's going to be some differences of opinion from one company to another. And so, you know, maybe with Amana mutual funds, they may, their ratio threshold may be 33% when it comes to the interest-bearing debt ratio. For Hoopoe, it could be 30%, or it could be, you know, maybe a little bit more than that, or so on and so forth. So there are a few different kind of variations to that. For us, we're more of an information service. So if you use our app, we're agnostic of any opinion. We just want to make all the underlying data available to you. So you can either take this standard or you can take that standard. They're all approved by scholars, but we empower you with that data to make your own investment decisions.
So the next question is a straightforward question. I'm sure you've fielded this many times. It's really for Hoopoe and Saturna. Have you guys come to a conclusion on crypto, whether it's halal or haram, or you're not considering it?
In terms of halal and haram, I think I would have to defer to experts there, but I mean, if you think about it from a way that's, whether it's a short-term or long-term asset, we don't see it as a long-term asset. So we're not invested in it in our core portfolios. Personally, I take the view that it's a lot of gambling just because it's a lot of speculation. Any of these crypto companies could go bankrupt in a day, as we saw by recently FTX and their founder. Yeah, their subsidiary is just lending money, and not lending money, literally taking money out from people's accounts and putting it for their own use. So there's little to no regulation there, and it's not something that we would see as something that we could competently argue as a good fit for our investors. So we try to take the view that we're investing things that are doing good for the communities that we're living in, and we don't really see a tangible benefit there right now.
I was just going to add that, I mean, there is more work that's being done in the scholarly community regarding crypto. There's certainly a number of scholars who are completely against it, and there are a number of scholars who are also saying that, generally speaking, it's okay. Of course, it would differ from currency to currency, what the crypto asset is exactly. There aren't any, I would say, you know, globally adopted standards as it comes to screening crypto. We've been working with our Sharia scholars over the last year to develop some sort of baseline standards for looking at crypto because, again, whether we like it or not, our users are engaging in crypto. They're holding it in their portfolios, and so they need some sort of guidelines to operate with. And so we've been working with scholars to put some stuff together. Generally speaking, they're saying, again, it's okay, but again, it depends on the asset. If the asset itself is permissible. And so we'll be releasing more kind of details on that pretty soon. But I think, yeah, generally speaking, I mean, if you want to talk about whether or not it's a good asset, I mean, you know, that's a different conversation.
So I have some people asked questions about, you know, regarding related to crypto. One mentioned option trading. Yeah. Options trading. Is options trading halal? That's the question.
Sure. Okay. So again, not a scholar, nor do I play one on the internet or at these events. But I can tell you that the majority opinion among scholars is that options trading is impermissible. That's the majority opinion. However, there is a minority opinion that says that it is permissible. And one of our scholars on our board, Sheikh Joe Bradford, if you Google him, he's a well-known scholar here in the US, especially when it comes to Islamic finance-related topics. He's written about options trading, and he takes the opinion that it is permissible. But he says that this is a minority opinion. And he goes into detail about why he believes that. I think we actually did a video with him. If you go on YouTube and search "Is options trading halal?" I think you can find that video where he kind of describes it in more detail. But yeah, majority opinion, impermissible.
So on that question, Samir and Adam, do you guys in your institutions make use of puts to manage risk?
No. We're essentially buy and hold, right? So we're long term, again, along the lines of Sharia compliant, good, sound companies. The one thing about also our funds as an information is not only is it Sharia compliant, we are also aligned with the ESG standards, so environmental, social governance, right? So this is a big hot button these days, especially with just fairness, equality in the corporate boards, caring for the environment with global warming, doing good for the societies we all work in, right? So things like that. Now, going back to that, I mean, options trading we would probably see as impermissible because you're hedging a lot, there's a lot of risk going on. Again, buy and hold is probably going to be your safest bet. I'm not a scholar either, but that's just how it's going to go. I don't think there's any way around it.
So, with Hoopoe, like we're a full-service wealth management firm, so we have an open platform. So we could do option trading if we wanted to. Like if a client came to us and said, "Oh, I want to buy a call on this stock," do it now. Like we have to take their order. It's unsolicited, but we wouldn't recommend that for any client. So we avoid options trading. And just to give a background for anyone who's unfamiliar, options trading is basically a way for you to give the right to buy or sell a stock at a predetermined price. So there's a lot of risk on the downside. If you're shorting a stock and it goes up, that's what we saw with GameStop. So we typically take the view that we are going long only, meaning we're just purchasing the stocks and holding them. And then we sell them at a time that we feel like is good for the investor and for ourselves.
Thank you.
So, another question, and I'm interested in what Saad has to say about this too, in regards to 401ks and IRAs, where, and I understand you guys aren't scholars, but what do the majority of scholars that you work with in your financial institutions say about how you pay zakat on them, or whether you pay zakat on them? And I'd like to see what your scholars that you consult with say, and also if you guys have kind of seen a majority consensus, if there is one.
I can answer that. Yeah, so we get that question a lot too. So we have two scholars on our board today. Sheikh Joe Bradford is one of them, another one is Sheikh Umar Khan, and they both hold opposing opinions, which is great because we get that sort of different perspective. So the one opinion is that yes, you do pay zakat on your 401k because it is something that you have access to despite there being a penalty. Like it's not a huge thing, it's like 10% or something, right? But you have access to it and you should pay zakat on it. Sheikh Joe Bradford's opinion, which is an opinion that I've seen more, I believe, is that you don't need to pay zakat on your 401k because of the fact that it's a restricted account, right? Because there's a penalty, it's not easy to get to it. For that reason, you only pay zakat on it when you have access to it. And so throughout your career, you're not really accessing it, and therefore you don't pay zakat on it. The other concern with paying zakat on it is that 401k is an investment account, right? And so typically, if you've been working for a few years, it's a large amount, right? It can add up quite a bit. And so if you're paying zakat on that, you need to have enough in your cash holdings to pay zakat, right? Because you're paying out of your cash holdings. And that's a problem for a lot of people. A lot of people they're not as liquid, right? They have a lot of money tied up in investments. And so that's another reason why they might go for the opinion that, I don't need to pay zakat on my 401k now. I only pay it when I get access to it at time of retirement. So that's been, like I said, the more sensible opinion from my perspective. Not a scholar, but just what I've seen more often.
On the same topic, if the 401k amount is for the rest of your life after you retire, so that's the amount that you will be needing it for your living further on. So you still have to pay the zakat on it?
Yes, so at that point, once you have access to it, and you're using it for your living expenses at the time of retirement, at that point, then yes, you would begin paying zakat on it.
Go ahead. So, when you're trying to invest, you're trying to time the market, which is usually a very tough thing to do. And long-term investing kind of masks a lot of that, right? Because you're not trying to time the market anymore. But I think my question is, how do you decide when a long-term investment you need to pull the plug on that and reinvest in something else? And B, is there really a time when you decide, hey, this is not a good time to invest at all? Because generally people are like, hey, long-term investing, you should just invest. Right?
So, I'm sure you've heard this common expression, time in the market is more important than timing the market, right? And so I think the answer to that is a function of your time horizon and your goals, right? I think what we touched on earlier. If you are younger, if you're in your 20s just getting started, you have many, many years to go until retirement, and so you can take short-term hits in the market, right? For you, it doesn't matter if 2022 was a bad year in the markets because you're going to be invested for 30, 40 years. It will work out in those 30, 40 years, right? But if you're later in your, in your career, if you're coming close to retirement, then obviously you would have to shift your assets around and focus more on reducing risk, right? And maybe more towards like income-producing assets. It really depends. I think again, your question is quite. There's no one answer to that, and I'll probably allow some of the other panelists to comment on it because I'm sure they get asked this all the time. So.
Yeah. Pretty much what Saad said, right? So long-term investing, the reason why as advisors we recommend that more than timing markets is because, we don't have the crystal ball, right? And God forbid we make a bad recommendation and you're coming for our throats. But with long-term, actually there was a statistic when I was back at JP Morgan. It said something, and this was, again, don't quote me on this, but this was as of like 2018 or something. They said that the 10 best days in the market are within the 10 worst days of the market. I don't know if you heard that. So why is that? Because when the market goes down, what is everyone doing? Like the average investor's like, oh man, let me get out. The world's coming to an end. Let me get my money, right? But then it starts creeping up, right? And I'm like, oh wait, hold on. No, it's going to bottom out. No, it keeps going up. Oh no, it's going to bottom out. And then you've missed it. You've missed it. So you're better off just leaving it alone. Again, if you have the time frame. Obviously, if you're more senior and you're relying on that money for retirement, it's probably not the wise thing. Yeah, you probably want to move it into a more conservative investment, some sort of, we offer a Sukuk fund, which I end up putting a lot of my clients who need to preserve their capital, right? So those are things you can do if you're kind of worried or you can't stomach the pain. I mean, what happened this past year, I mean, I've seen it. I've been in this industry since 2005, so I've seen 9/11, I've seen 2008. It's just cyclical, and I just leave it alone. Trust me, I don't like looking at my 401k either, but I got the time.
So there's two different ways you can invest. Generally speaking, you can either do like a balloon payment, meaning like you invest your money all at once. We recommend to a lot of clients to do dollar cost averaging, which is basically a way to forget about timing the market, but basically invest periodically at the same amount every month or every year or quarter. And that statistically usually turns out to be a lower average cost than if you were to do it like looking at a market and trying to guess what happens next, because it's anyone's guess what the Fed's going to do. It's anyone's guess what the next year is, besides all of us. So you really just want to think statistically for the most part and kind of take an agnostic view. It's very difficult to beat the market. You can maybe have it happen maybe once or twice, but any more than that, you're probably get burning it off for the next generation. So.
I know. And I think Sami, both of you guys, then the question came from the audience about 401k and fund and your mutual fund.
Yeah.
If can somebody from their own 401k, whatever company they are, can they participate in those funds? If they can, how should they go by about it?
Yeah, this is probably our most asked question, and we're dealing with 401ks all the time. Basically, I think what the question is if we have a current 401k, how can we make sure it's being invested in a Sharia compliant manner, like Amana funds or whatever other investments are out there. So as far as we're concerned, we have a lot of, let's say, partnerships and contracts with different providers. Fidelity is one of them. Generally speaking, you could check with your employer and ask, and I have these over there, okay? These list all of our funds, so you can, the two that are probably gonna be on their platform would be the Amana Growth and the Income. So now the question then becomes, what if they don't offer it? What can we do? The next option for you is to ask them if they offer a self-directed brokerage account. It would be a 401k account, but it's just a different account. What that allows you to do is have an open architecture. So you can invest into anything he's offering or he's offering, right? You could invest into that. And so sometimes they charge a small fee to maintain that account, but it's well worth it if you're trying to maintain Sharia compliance. So that's what I would say. Talk to your employer, your human resources, your plan sponsor, and ask them, is there a way I can invest into these funds or whatever fund you're interested in? If they say no, well, do you offer a self-directed brokerage account? Because of my faith and my ethics and my belief system, I want to invest in this manner. These investments don't align with me. So,
thank you.
I was just going to add, there's another free resource on our blog. If you just Google, is my 401k halal, and Zoya, you'll come to our blog post, and it's the one blog post that the sister was referencing earlier. It talks about exactly this, and how to set up a self-directed brokerage account, and also if they don't offer one, what can you do? So we actually have a template that you can download and send to your employer. It's already, it's a message in there that mentions, hey, for my, based on my faith, so on and so forth, I need this. And they'll likely make it available in some capacity, or they'll let you know what your options are. So definitely go check out that blog post if you want more information. Yes?
Oh, one quick question, sir. Is your app available on desktop or still on iPhone?
Coming soon, inshallah, in a few weeks. Yeah.
So, general question to all of you. Are there any studies or metrics that would show halal investing is somehow superior to general investing, or vice versa? Are you aware of any studies or metrics?
Yeah, so the question is if there are any studies that have been done that compare halal investing to conventional investing to see what the performance is. Right. There are a few. I don't know if there's something recently that was done. Most of them are a few years old at this point. But you can see that they are in the long run typically in line with the market. So again, what the long run is, it's depends again on your time horizon, but generally speaking, it does track the market pretty closely. And then typically during market downturns, it does better, right? Because there's no exposure to financial companies when it comes to halal investing. We're not investing in banks and financial institutions or highly leveraged companies, right? And so typically we'll perform better. And I think that's been the case this year, right? We like halal investing has been beating the overall market, conventional market. So.
Yeah, generally that's what we've seen too. I mean, it's aligned, and I mean, you gotta think these are companies that you and I would be investing into anyways, like Apple because of the whole pandemic, healthcare has been doing well too, right? So we have a lot of Johnson & Johnson, Eli Lilly, pharmaceuticals. So, but yeah, for what I've seen, like I was a skeptic when I first joined. I was like, oh, but I became a believer because, people will say that it may hinder the growth, right? If you're investing Sharia client, but honestly, it's helped because, yeah, like you mentioned, it takes up financials. And when the market takes a hit, usually it's the banks that are suffering, So we don't have that problem. So when 2008 came around, the market was down 40 to 50%, right? And banks were failing. We all remember that. The Amana Growth Fund, which is our most aggressive fund, was down about 29%. So yeah, it was down. We're not saying it's foolproof, but not as much. So,
Yeah, I'll add on to that. What Samir said with limiting the downside risk. We're really trying to take the view at Hoopoe by fundamentally analyzing the companies, investing in companies, first and foremost that are Sharia compliant, but beyond that, have good balance sheets, strong earnings, good cash flows, and we don't have like a publicly available fund, so I can't really speak to our performance, but we really try to limit the downside risk and make the most of the upside. I know we've seen like what Samir said with his fund only going down 30%, but compared to the market, 50% it's a sizable difference, and you'll see that in the long run. It's a quicker path to recovery for those types of funds and investment tools that have less of a downfall.
Thank you. I know we have a few more questions, but before I do that, I wanted to give a few minutes to Imam Shibli. So if Imam Shibli can come, we want to share a few ideas. No, he's not going to bless me. I already got once. No more.
Say something.
This is your Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. For the day of the Eid, he took 1 dirham, 1 single dirham. He gave it to a Sahabi. His name Hakim bin Hizam. Hizam is the belt, Belt himself very well. Hakim bin Hizam. He said, Ya Hakim, take this dirham, go to the bazaar, in Arabic bazaar, in English bazaar, market, buy me a sheep because I want to slaughter a sheep on the day of Eid Qurban. Hakim took the dirham, walked to the bazaar, he find the sheep, buy 1 dirham, he pulled it, walking happy to give the sheep to Rasulullah to slaughter, and he would eat a part of the meat too. On the middle of the road, another Sahabi was going to the same market to buy sheep to slaughter. He looked at Hakim, he knows him, Sahabi. He looked at the sheep, looks like nice, very beautiful. What he said to Hakim? What he said to Hakim, do you like to sell what you have by 2 dirham? Hakim quote the same part of the verse my brother quote from Surah Baqarah. وَأَحَلَّ. Can we say the verse together? وَأَحَلَّ. Loudly. You drink too much coffee. وَأَحَلَّ. الله البيع وحرم الربا. The brother in the middle, he said, that is the war Allah will wage it against the one who will touch the riba. Did you say it? You say it? You are a scholar, mashallah. That Hakim sell the sheep with 2 dirham. He went to the market, buy a sheep by 2 dirham. No. You buy the sheep by 1 dirham. And he have another dirham. Before he arrived to Rasulullah, said, Ya Rasulullah, this is the sheep. He had the dirham. Jibreel alayhi salam came to Rasulullah. He said, you are Sahabi, very smart investment. Ta'ajjab Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was very happy what Hakim did. Why I am saying this? Because I don't have that experience. In mid-90, we're sitting here giving the seminar. One brother asked me, Imam, 401k. I said, what do you say? No, 401k. Halal haram. I said, what do you say? Just as a joke. You don't have one 4K? I said, Wallahi, I don't know what you are talking about. Let me give the microphone for at least maybe 3 minutes or 4 minutes to the person who knew about what the three young brothers here by age. His name Dr. Safi Qasqas. He will advise us only for 3 minutes or 4 minutes. Why? Because sometimes I give him the microphone, he will never get back to me. And I think we have to go to the refreshment, and we have to go to the grape and cheese, halal cheese, yeah? Halal investment cheese, inshallah. Dr. Safi.
Brother, I'm very happy to see you. I have no clue who you are and whether you're going to be here today or not. Sheikh Hamad surprised me, and I'm very happy to know that you are here. I have a close friend from Houston who's doing the same thing you're doing. Maybe it's the same company. He explained to me a little bit about the program, and I like it very much. What I want to say, based on my age and experience in the world of business, I spent over 4 years as a business strategist. And I have one advice to all the young people that are, and see many young people sitting here. If you don't invest today, you're going to regret it later. I don't know exactly what programs they have, but any investment that is halal, it is a beautiful foundation for an easy future. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not put us on this earth to suffer. He put us here so we can enjoy worshiping Him and serving others at ease. But if you have too many problems, house payments, no employment, no job, and all of this, it'll be very hard for you to worship Allah or to serve your brothers. Only those who are well-to-do, comfortable, put some money aside, are able to do this. So an investment today is peace of mind for your future. With the little I heard from them today, I heard one word they use, actually it's a term they use, that is a key, strategic key to what they do, long term. This program, whatever it is not so you can put your money now and draw it a year later. This is not an investment. It's a plan for your retirement, a plan for, am I correct here? It's a plan for the future. You invest your money and leave it there. As long as they're not investing in financial companies that are subject to ups and downs, and as long as they also chose long-term investment, you will end making money and living comfortably for the future. Yes, I am for long-term investments. I am for people to invest their money, hoping that at one time, when they are ready to retire, they will be able to retire comfortably. Now, telling you all this, I made a huge mistake myself. I worked for 30 years in Saudi Arabia as a business consultant, made a lot of money, put it all in Lebanon, in 2 banks, in dollars. I have no access to it. I'm telling you this so you will also diversify. You need to diversify. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. I'm sorry to say this, but it's what my conscience tells me to do.
That's the right advice. Yeah.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket. When it comes to your future, you need to be very cautious, but wisely cautious, not foolishly cautious. Foolishly cautious, no, I'll keep it in my pocket. I'll keep it under the mattress. No, this is foolishly cautious. You need to be cautious in an intelligent way. I'll put some money here, I'll put some money there, and I'll invest in this, I'll invest in that, and maybe you want to invest some money in gold also. I don't know. Maybe gold is more secure than the dollars. So anyway, I won't take too much time. I'm just telling you, if you want a comfortable future, yes, you need to invest, and you need to wisely look at the investment you're making. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming. Thank you. Shukran.
Thank you. I know that time I'm want to be respectful of your time. We have 11:30, but some of these.
A long way to go. I don't know. That would really be contacting, because the thing is, these providers, they have their own funds, right? So it's kind of like telling Saturna, if we like Washington State, because we're based there, if Washington State made us a provider, like it's like Fidelity coming and say, hey, can we stick our funds into your plan? You know, it just wouldn't work. So.
Go ahead, brother.
Just one question here. Maybe this is strategy. Real estate investment is a lot of our Muslims invest in real estate because it's considered halal. My question is that investing in real estate, borrowing from these halal banks or guidance or La Riba or these ones, what are your takes on this one? Is that okay? Because at the end of the day, it's when you do the form, tax forms and stuff, these are considered interest. A lot of people are against, they think conventional mortgage versus Islamic mortgage is similar. Some of them have different opinions. What do you think about as an investment strategy that you buy properties and you take it from these Laribas or guidance or UIF?
We have the view, excuse me, that, you know, I think a lot of these types of companies are trying to do good and be innovative in terms of structuring the way that in a way that's halal, and we support that idea. We don't specialize in that area, so I don't really have a formal opinion on it, but we support the idea. It's a tough question, though. I mean, you either have the option of engaging in the marketplace and using a mortgage from a mainstream lender that you know is not doing good, or you could buy in cash, but if you buy in cash, then you're really cash-strapped for the rest of your life, and I don't think that's a sound investment either. So I think it's a very tough quandary that there's still a lot of research and innovation that needs to happen in that area.
Just a general comment. I mean, the way that Islamic mortgages work today, especially in the U.S., they are not a perfect model, and everyone recognizes that, even the companies themselves. And there's a lot that they have to work around in terms of just the laws of the state and federal laws and so on and so forth. So it's not perfect, and there are some scholarly opinions regarding some of those companies as well, which you can find if you Google. There's quite a bit that's been written on that. So it really comes down to your own personal preference. So, you know, I think a good sort of general best practice for any of this stuff, whether it's investments in stocks or real estate or anything that's relevant to you, there are general guidelines, and I think a lot of what we're talking about are general guidelines. But you should ultimately engage with a scholar for your specific situation, right? Because it could be that, yes, so-and-so mortgage product or so-and-so investment is generally, you know, advised to be non-compliant, but given your personal situation, if you talk to a scholar, you know, maybe they issue you a fatwa based on your situation that, you know, it's okay. So these are highly, highly personal things. So definitely don't skip that part. I'll always engage with a scholar for sure, but you know, our job is to kind of provide, you know, basic general guidelines to help you just operate, get started at least in the right direction.
Thank you. I know there isn't many questions from sisters area. We want to be fair. Anyone has any questions before we close out? Any sisters?
So
Sure.
I have a question. You know, this room should have been packed, right? It should have been standing room only. There are so many millennials in this community that have very good jobs. They have lots of disposable income. There are lots of danks, double income, no kids, families, right? And I don't know whether it's because of the timing or maybe you didn't think it applied to them. Like, I don't know why, but this room should have been packed. And it's a shame that it's not, right? So I think my question is, how do we all know that a lot of Muslims, we keep our money in cash and in the mattress. We know that ad nauseum, right? So how do we get Muslims more interested in not just investing, but also knowing that the options you, panelists, companies, and other companies like Wahed and others have, like people may not even know that they exist, right? Like people may not even know that they can make their 401k halal potentially. So, so there's some barriers here. First, we need to do some awareness, some education, etc. But like, and it's not, and this is on all of us, everyone who's in that financial, who works for a financial business, financial business. So like, what are your thoughts on that, right? Like, I'm guessing that the second generation, third generation Muslim Americans are more aware than our parents maybe. But we all still have the saying, like, a high tide raises all ships, right? Like, so how do we, is there an effort to increase that awareness, right? Because that high tide will get more business for all of your companies, etc. So I'd love to get your thoughts on that. You know, I mean, there's more Muslims in Central Jersey than in many other parts of the country. So again, it's a shame that there are so many empty seats here.
So from my perspective, growing up here as a second generation immigrant, I wasn't taught any of this stuff. I had to kind of learn it on my own through school and through my other jobs. I think more of an effort has to be made at a younger age to reduce the stigmas associated with investing, and I think it's a gray area, as we've spoken about. There's lots of different opinions that you can take the view on, but I think it starts from a young age, getting to improve your financial literacy. So as an example, I'm invested, or me and a few of my colleagues are helping NUI with, there's an investment competition going with Penn that some of the kids are doing, and I think that's a good way to generate awareness, is having these types of classes and seminars, not even seminars, but just competitions that allow kids to really think innovatively at a time where they can learn and, you know, experiment with these types of stuff. So I think improving financial literacy through our school systems, having people like us who are, you know, having gone through the school systems and stuff like that, they can relate to us, I think better than what I can relate to my teachers back in Sunday school and stuff like that. So I think it's twofold. Like, we need to be more involved in the communities ourselves, but also schools should have types of curriculums that engage students in a way that's productive and halal.
Yeah, I mean, I had a different introduction when I was a kid. My uncle, my dad's brother, lives in Michigan. He's, you know, I was working odd jobs when I was a teenager, and he used to say, "What are you doing with your money? Like, you're squandering it on whatever sneakers or bubble gum, whatever it was at the time." And he encouraged me to put $50 away. Now, back then, we forget the Islamic finance part, like Mason funds. I don't know if anybody had heard of that back in the day, right? So that was like the hot mutual fund family back then. So he was like, just put $50 away. You know, if you do this for the rest of your life until you retire, you'll have $1 million. And so that's kind of what he drilled in my head. So I think like conversations like that from the adults, right? Like, or the parents or family members who know. But I think we're doing a better job now. I mean, from where we were, like, whatever, 20, 30 years ago, there's more of a push towards financial literacy and things like that. But to your point about this room should have been full, you know, maybe, you know, it will be, but maybe we have to do it in a different, kind of market it differently, right? This was like an endowment week, so might not be the hottest thing for somebody to wake up on a Sunday morning to come out to, but maybe like a Friday Holocaust. Do they have like a youth group here?
Yes.
You know, invite one of us out here. You know, hey, we have a guest speaker who's going to talk about investing and starting at a young age or whatever. How can you put some money away, even if it's $50 a month? Like, that's all, you know, doesn't take a lot. So I think things like that, yeah, could encourage that.
Yeah, so I think there's been a cultural shift over the last few years. A lot of younger people are getting interested into investing, which is a great thing, right? So a lot of that kind of fundamental, sort of foundational work has already been done in the markets, just because generally more people are now interested in investing. In terms of making them aware of Islamic finance and how to navigate that with your faith, there's a lot of work that has to be done there. And it's something that I think, you know, community integration will help quite a bit with that, right? Because the community having kind of access to an audience is very important. I'll give you an example. Earlier this year, I spoke at the ICNA convention and the ISNA convention. Me and a few other Muslim entrepreneurs, we put together a program, a panel on Muslim startups. And our intention there was purely just to inspire the younger generation that, hey, we're Muslims, we're building Muslim companies, and, you know, we were able to raise venture capital and build profitable enterprises, and this is all based on Muslim values, right? And And we pitched this idea to the organizations like ISNA, and they didn't care. And so what we had to do was we had to buy a sponsorship, so we paid to show up, fly ourselves out there, get our own hotel rooms, and then do an event where we didn't sell anything. It was purely just informational and educational for everyone. And guess what? We had a packed house.
You have an incubator?
We don't have an incubator today, but this is something, again, like the first step was, let's just all get together in a room and start talking about this, and let's see what the interest is, and then we can expand from there, maybe create some sort of ongoing initiative. But we showed them, these organizations, that look, this event, both events, the rooms are packed. So clearly there's interest in the younger generation. How do we fuel that further, right? And then coming back to this, I guess, you know, faith and finance, I always tell people that we operate at the intersection of two of the most sensitive areas for people, which is faith and finance, right? Money and religion. And it's very easy to have misaligned incentives, right? So if a company's coming out and speaking to the masjid, people may have a reaction to it like, oh, they're just gonna come sell me something, right? And maybe that's true. And so how do we develop more kind of educational seminars like this where, you know, up front they told us, you know, don't sell anything, this is purely for educational purposes, and you know, that's fair, that's how it should be. On our part, with my tiny little company, we're trying to do whatever we can in terms of producing educational content. I talked about my blog. It's free. Again, please go check it out. We're creating courses. We recently launched a free course that you can access at learn.zoya.finance. It's basically a 12-step getting started with halal investing email course, free, completely free. We're developing financial tools, things like zakat calculators and so on and so forth. So we're trying to do whatever we can on our part to kind of spread the message. But at the end of the day, I think we're going to need help from the community as well to work with them. Yes.
I want to share one good thing. A kid from Royal School, he's graduated and everything. He came up with some great idea, and he said to not Uber, Lyft. He sold that idea to Lyft. You know how much money he gave? 1 million. 1 million at the age of 18, 19.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. And part of it he gave to Sadaqah Jariyah as a charity. Now he's studying in Harvard.
Wow.
So everything starts from home. Kids do what the parents do, so parents have to be role model. I've seen it in my culture. Father watching TV and he's saying to kid, go do namaz. He can turn around and say, Baba, you're watching TV and you're asking me to. Everything starts from home. My wife has been teaching in Nurul Maskan for the last 27 years. It just starts from home. Don't blame others for your failure.
Yeah.
I'm not a sheikh, I'm not imam. On that note, I'll share one thing. You sit down with your Muslim friend, educated people that differ, they don't agree. Fine. I said, don't agree, that's it. What I do is to me and my Lord. SubhanAllah. One thing I said, okay, I'm going to ask you one thing. We're all Muslim. We all use GPS.
Yes.
What is our GPS to Jannah? Now I'm going to ask you. The Holy Quran.
Great.
The Holy Quran.
Yes.
And I cried.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, let's go.
Just to kind of wrap up about like seminars and creating awareness. We do this regularly. I mean, you know, so I do a presentation usually after Salat al-Isha at most masjids, and I travel up and down the East Coast doing this. So Boston, I've done a couple out there, and then we also have a seminar called Cradle to the Grave. Basically, all aspects of Islamic finance from the time you're born till the time you die. So what we'll do is we'll partner with UIF or guidance to talk about home financing during that life cycle. So when we start off, we're talking about college planning, right? And then we get into, you know, when you're working, saving for retirement. So we'll have UIF or guidance, whoever's available. And then at the end, we're talking about estate planning because that's the end of the life. And so we'll partner with an estate planning attorney. And if we can't get it, we'll educate you, give you a general overview. So this is, and the communities have loved it. So this is something that, you know, is open. Imam Shibli, if you invite me, and we can do something like that too. So.
Thank you. Thank you everybody for being patient. We know that we wanted to say 11:30. I think a lot of interest, more talking. I mean, some of you who showed up, thank you all showed up. The rest, I mean, there are a lot of effort is happening. I know. I'm not going to name it. A lot of people in the room, they're listening to you. So hopefully, inshallah, in future, more people There's going to be more awareness, more people are going to come in, and more type of events like this is going to happen in the community, inshallah. So now I just want to have Imam Shibli, if you can make a closing dua, and no blessing, just closing dua. Let's have, learn from everything we learn.
Inshallah ta'ala, all of us invited to participate in the closing dua, because that's the sunnah of Rasulullah when two Sahaba, they meet each other, they shake hands with each other, they say Salaam alaikum to each other, and before they leave, they read Surah Wal-Asr to each other with the intention to meet again, inshallah ta'ala. If the room is full, we make takbir. If we have one person in the room, that will be enough, because that the person can give the message to the other, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. صدق الله العظيم وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. For Salat al-Zuhr today is 1:10 inshallah ta'ala. Stay with us and may Allah reward you. Assalamu alaikum.
We have some drinks and water at the back, please.